Paris, Saturday, January 19th, 2008. The offices of Société Générale are silent. But deep inside the bank's servers, something is wrong. A junior auditor sits alone staring at a single trade ticket. On his screen, a $1.5 million error is blinking. It's marked as an internal middle office trade with a bank in China. The auditor picks up the phone. He asks the bank in China to confirm the paperwork. There's a pause. Then the voice on the other end says, "We've never seen this trade." The auditor doesn't argue. He opens a new window. He pulls the trader's full history. The system hesitates, then the screen floods with data. Thousands of trades, all of them internal, all of them tied to one name, Jérôme Kerviel. The auditor scrolls. The numbers start climbing. $100 million, $1 billion, and then $10 billion. By the time he reaches the bottom of the ledger, the room feels cold. This isn't a rounding error, it's a $73 billion market position. One trader has taken on more risk than the bank itself can survive. If the market opens on Monday and moves just 1% the wrong way, Société Générale collapses, and the system everyone trusted goes with it. The world would later call this a high-tech heist, but there were no hackers, no stolen passwords. The truth was simpler. Something inside the bank's own system had allowed this to exist, and no one was supposed to know it was possible. This is the story of how Jérôme Kerviel nearly broke a global bank. To understand how one man can hide a $73 billion secret, you first have to understand the hierarchy of the system. In a global bank like Société Générale, the front office is where the stars live. These are the elite traders from the top universities in France, moving millions with a single click. Jérôme Kerviel is not one of them. He is a 31-year-old junior trader working on the Delta One desk. In the world of finance, Delta One is supposed to be the most boring job in the building. Their only task is to hedge. If they buy $100 worth of stock, they must immediately sell $100 worth of a related asset. It's the kind of desk no one watches closely, and that is his first advantage. However, Jérôme has another secret weapon that the elite traders don't. Before becoming a trader, Jérôme spent years working in the bank's back office. He is the man who helped write the rules. He knows exactly how the bank system talks to itself, and he knows the system has a fatal assumption. When a trader deals with an outside bank like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, the system demands instant proof. If it doesn't get one, an alarm goes off. But internal trades are different. If a trade stays inside the bank, the system relaxes. Engineers assume there is no real risk because the money isn't leaving the building. So they build in a delay. A 72-hour window, 3 days where no human and no system checks if the trade actually exists. To the bank, this is a safety feature. To Jérôme, it is a blind spot. This is how he builds the ghost hedge. Jérôme places a massive, unauthorized bet on the market. This trade looks like a disaster to the bank's risk management software until it isn't, because Jérôme enters a second trade, a fake one. He marks this as an internal trade. The software sees two opposing trades and assumes the risk is gone. Because he marks the fake trade as internal, the system doesn't look for any confirmation for 72 hours. It simply waits. But there is a problem. After 72 hours, the system finally wakes up and asks for the paperwork. Jérôme knows he can't stop the clock, so he resets it. Every 72 hours for an entire year, Jérôme performs a manual loop. He deletes his fake trade just seconds before the audit trigger fires. Then, he immediately re-enters the exact same trade, starting a brand new 72-hour countdown. He is essentially running a human cron job, a manual script that keeps the bank's multi-million-dollar security system in a permanent state of waiting. As long as he never misses the deadline, the $73 billion hole stays invisible. But as the markets begin to turn, Jérôme realizes that he is no longer just hiding a trade. He is hiding a ticking time bomb. It is now late 2007. The global economy is beginning to tremble under the weight of the subprime mortgage crisis. For most traders, this is a nightmare. For Jérôme Kerviel, it is the perfect cover. With the markets in chaos, a billion-dollar move is no longer unusual. It is just another Tuesday. But as the scale of his ghost trades grows from $10 billion to $30 billion, the manual 72-hour reset is becoming physically impossible. Jérôme is no longer just a trader, he is a full-time editor of reality. He spends 14 hours a day manually deleting and re-entering thousands of fake positions just to keep the audit triggers from firing. He is winning. But the system is starting to learn. Meanwhile, the bank's compliance department introduces a new patch. They begin to monitor cancelled trades. In their eyes, a trader who frequently deletes trades just before they are reconciled is a red flag. The 3-day loop is about to be exposed. However, the auditors make a second fatal assumption in the new patch. They assume that if a trade is cancelled, the trader has a logical explanation. They don't account for Jérôme's third special ability, social engineering. When the auditors finally question Jérôme about a series of unconfirmed internal trades, he doesn't flinch. Instead, he produces a paper trail. He forges emails from counterparties at other major banks, confirming that the trades are legitimate but are simply delayed due to technical errors in their own systems. The auditors check the emails. They look real. They check the signatures. They match. But, of course, they are not looking at emails from a client. They are looking at emails Jérôme has sent to himself. Using his old back-office credentials, he accesses the bank's internal mail servers to forge an entire history of fake correspondence. He creates ghost clients to justify his ghost trades. By the end of 2007, Jérôme Kerviel is no longer just a junior employee. On paper, he is the most successful trader in the history of the bank. He has earned the bank $1.4 billion in profit. But that profit does not exist. It is a mathematical illusion built on a mountain of unhedged risk. By January 2008, Jérôme's total exposure reaches $73 billion. To put this in perspective, if the European market drops by just 10%, Jérôme Kerviel loses $7 billion. That is more than the total cash reserves of Société Générale. He is holding a gun to the head of the French economy, and the only thing keeping him from pulling the trigger is his ability to delete his tracks every 72 hours. He just needs the market to stay stable for one more week. But it doesn't. Friday, January 18th. The 72-hour window is closing again. Jérôme is exhausted. For over a year, he has stayed ahead of the system, but the ghost has grown too large to manage. $73 billion in unhedged positions is now a gravitational force that is starting to warp the bank's internal data. And then, the system doesn't fail. A human does. A middle office auditor is running a routine check on Jérôme's internal trades. He notices a small $1.5 million transaction listed with a Chinese company, Baidu. It's a mistake. In his sleep-deprived state, Jérôme has used a real company name for a fake trade. The auditor picks up the phone. He calls the company to verify. They have never heard of Jérôme Kerviel. They have no record of the trade. Suddenly, the logic that protected Jérôme for a year collapses. By Saturday morning, Jérôme is called into the headquarters. He isn't met by his boss. Instead, he is met by the bank's internal police. They sit him in a room and show him the Baidu trade. At first, they think they have caught a small-time fraudster, maybe a missing €1,000,000, but when they force Jérôme to log into his hidden ledger, the room goes silent. The auditors watch the screen as the real total calculates 10 billion tons, $30 billion, $50 billion tons. When the number finally stops at $73 billion, the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world realizes that they were effectively bankrupt. If the market opens on Monday and the world finds out about this trade, Société Générale ceases to exist. The bank has no choice. They have to kill the ghost before the sun rises. Over the next 72 hours, they secretly dump $73 billion worth of stock into a market that's already collapsing. They sell so much so fast that they trigger a global market shock. The world watches in terror as billions of dollars in value evaporates in minutes, with no one understanding why. The bank burns the market down just to hide Jérôme's mistake. When the smoke cleared, Société Générale had survived, but the cost was a $7.2 billion loss. It was the largest loss ever recorded by a single trader in human history. Jérôme Kerviel didn't walk away with a cent. He didn't have a private jet or a villa in Bali. He walked out of the building with nothing but his coat and a criminal record. For 365 days, he had outsmarted one of the most advanced financial systems on Earth. And in the end, he proved something terrifyingly simple. In a world run by automated logic, the biggest vulnerability is still the human who knows where the delete button is.